Scoring is down in the NHL by a lot. When the NHL shut down during the 04-05 season, rules were changed to open up the game and increase scoring. The following year, teams were scoring more than 3 goals per game. But since then, scoring has slowly tapered nearly every year, to the point where teams are scoring just 2.65 goals per game. That's comparable to rates from the late 90s and early 2000s, when scoring was at its lowest in the expansion era and fan interest in the sport was waning. So why is scoring down? A 2014 piece from Jonathan Willis of Bleacher Report explains how teams are blocking shots more frequently. While that's true, the number of total shot attempts has also increased. Teams are firing away more often, and as Willis points out, the blocked shots are likely coming on low percentage attempts far away from the net. So clearly, blocked shots can't be the reason scoring is down. Instead, let's look at goalie height and weight over the years. This graph shows the average height of goalies and skaters from the inception of the NHL until now. Notice how throughout history, goalies have been shorter than skaters. Even more glaring is the major dip in goalie height throughout the 1980s. During that period, players continued to get taller though. What happened in the 80s? Scoring was at historic highs. Year after year, teams averaged nearly 4 goals per game, with the max coming in 81-82, when teams averaged 4.01 goals per game, 51% higher than today. Let's go back to the graph. After the 80s, goalies started getting taller at a much faster rate than skaters. In 03-04, for the first time ever, goalies were taller than players, and coincidentally, scoring tapered off as well, with the exception of the year after the lockout when power plays were at a record high, and as a result, there were more goals. In fact, there's a strong correlation between goalie height and goals scored. The correlation coefficient is negative 0.94. The same can be said about weight. In 83-84, skaters were 16 pounds bigger than goalies. Now, they're essentially the same size, near 200 pounds. You know what hasn't changed over the years? The size of the goal. Goalies are taking up more and more space in the 4x6, and as a result, it's more difficult to score. Goalies are nearly 6% taller than they were in 1983. Maybe it's time for the net to be 6% bigger as well. A small change, but it could open up scoring and save the league from the embarrassment of not having a 100-point scorer like it did last season. For NESN.com, I'm Andre Khatchaturian.